Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you all? Inshallah, in this video, I'm going to continue with the second part of the text, which is on page 64 and which talks about the language of Braille. So please, all of you, open your books, page 64, and take all the notes. Now, in the previous lesson or video, we have talked about the types of communication in the past, and which were the drum beats, smoke signals, and cave drawings, right? Now, after that, the invention of the printing press in the 15th century had led to the first forms of mass media, newspapers and magazines. So, again, the invention of the printing press in the 15th century led to the first forms of mass media. Now, this is what I mean by printing press. طباعة. Printing what? Printing newspapers, printing magazines, and this is the first newspaper that was printed. So, when was the first time to print a newspaper or a magazine? It was in the 15th century. So the invention of printing press. When was the printing press invented? It was in the 15th century. And it led to the first forms of mass media that were newspapers and magazines. So what are the types of mass media? We have two types here of mass media. What are they? Newspapers and two magazines. Now, until then, it hadn't been possible to reach thousands of readers at the same time. However, only sighted people could access these media. So here, until that century, it hadn't been possible to reach thousands of people or thousands of readers at the same time. For example, they printed only some newspapers, and only people from this place could read these newspapers. Others at the same country or at the same continent couldn't read it, because it was not possible to reach thousands of readers at the same time. They needed time to send the newspapers. They needed time to send the magazines to other places. So they couldn't read at the same time. However, only sighted people who can see. People who can see. So sighted means who can see. So the people who can see could access these media. Access means read or look at it. And again, this refers to what? This here refers to the media, which were what? Newspapers and magazines. This refers to mass media, which were what? Newspapers and magazines. So the sentence which shows that it was impossible to reach many people of readers at the same time, this is the sentence. Until then, it hadn't been possible to reach thousands of readers at the same time. Hadn't been possible means impossible. Impossible. Next. This all changed in 1821 CE. It happened when an officer in the military in France was visiting the Royal Institute of the Blind in Paris. He wanted to demonstrate the students a system of dots he had invented. So, Now, in the previous paragraph, we have mentioned that only sighted people could access mass media, right? But this all changed in 1821. In which year the change happened, or the change happened, it happened in the 1821st CE. It happened when an officer, what the meaning of officer? This is an officer, military officer. He was in the military in France. In which country? In France. He was visiting the Royal Institute of the Blind in Paris. This was the Royal Institute of Blind in Paris. Institute مؤسسة. Royal مؤسسة اللي هي عندك Royal Institute مؤسسة ملكية of the blind للعمي أو الذين لا يروا أو الناس اللي ما بيشوفوا in Paris. Okay. He wanted to demonstrate to the students a system of dots he had invented. He wanted to present the students. He wanted to give the students an idea of a system of dots, okay, that he had invented. He refers to whom? He refers to the officer, or an officer in the military in France. The officer, okay? He refers to the officer. Now, this is the system of dots. What's the meaning of dots? This is a dot. This is a dot. This is another dot. نقاط. Okay? So, he had invented. So, who invented the first system of dots? It was an officer in the military in France. When did that happen? It happened in 1821. Where did it happen? It happened in France. What is the name of the institute that the officer presented or demonstrated the system of dots? What is the name of the institute? It was the Royal Institute of Blind in Paris. Okay? So, let's continue. These dots allowed soldiers to communicate without speaking. This method of communication caught the attention of Louis Briel, a young man who was studying at the institute. So, what is the purpose of these dots that officer presented or demonstrated to students in the institute? What is the purpose? So this sentence shows the purpose. With the meaning of purpose. Okay, the purpose اللي هي الهدف. Okay. So purpose again. I have put it by mistake. So purpose. Okay, means what? الهدف, the aim of the system of dots. It was to allow soldiers, what the meaning of soldiers? جنود, to communicate without speaking. So if they don't want to speak, they can communicate with each other using this system of dots. This method of communication caught the attention of Louis Briel, who got interested in this system of dots. Who got interested in, the system of dots? It was Louis Briel, okay? This is Louis Briel. He was what? He was blind, as you see here in the picture. Okay, and he was studying at the institute. Which institute that he was studying in? The Royal Institute of Blind in Paris. Okay, so he was a student at that institute. And he got the attention of this system of dots. What happened next? After Louis Briel liked or paid attention to that system of dots, what did he do? Let's look here. After many years of work, Louis Brill had improved and completed the system of raised dots, which became known as Brill. The characters consist of six tactile dots that can form 64 combinations, spelling out letters, numbers, and symbols. So look here. He worked for many years. Okay, who worked for many years for to develop or to improve the system of dots? It was Louis Brill. Okay, so he worked many years to develop or to improve what? The system of dots. And what have he done? What has he done, or what had he done? Because in the past, he made it as what? A system of raised dots. Sorry, okay. What the meaning of raised dots? Raised. Look at these dots here. What type of dots are they? اللي هي إيش؟ بارزة. Okay. So what? Raised dots. Raised means بارز. Okay. Which became known as Brill. So what is the name of this raised dots system? It is what? Brill. Now, the characters consist of 6 tactile dots. So again, tactile, that is what? Related to the touch sense. Okay, it is related to touch because these people touch these dots to know what are they about. Okay, so these dots can form 64 combinations. Combinations اللي هي تركيبات. Spelling out letters. Okay, look at these. For example, this one shows A. So when you put your hand or your finger on this dot, you will have to know that it is an A. 2 dots, B. Okay, 2 dots vertically. Okay, and the other in the same type or in the same mood. Okay, now it showed what? Letters, numbers, and what? And symbols. So what these dots showed or shows, okay, they show us letters, numbers, and dots. Okay, sorry, and symbols. Clear? Now, this is enough for today's video or today's lesson. Inshallah, in the next video, I'm going to complete the whole text بإذن الله and answer some questions for you. يعطيكم العافية.